So the first thing that I have literally just came across this like 2 minutes before we started. Microsoft is removing PowerShell 2.0 from Windows 11 and Windows Server this month. Hopefully this affects exactly 0 of you. But for those that still rely on PowerShell 2.0, this is important news. It is interesting. I feel like over the last year or so, maybe 2, we have had several deprecation and removal announcements of technologies that have existed in Windows for quite some time. So anyways, I wanted to call this one out.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Also, a couple of things I came across from Jose Shinardi, fantastic PowerShell modules here that he has created. This one we did talk about a couple of months ago when it was released, the IntuneMermaid PowerShell module. And this PowerShell module is helpful in generating diagrams in the Mermaid format. So if I click on this link, this will kind of show you what that format looks like. So he had a couple of updates to this PowerShell module, wanted to call that out. And separately, I don't recall coming across this before, but this shot up to high on my list to play around with. He also has a PowerShell module for reporting browser extensions across Edge, Chrome, and Firefox. Have you seen this module before, Johan?
No, sir. Not.
I thought that this would be super useful. I mean, another data point for reporting on something that, in my experience, is sort of elusive in an organization. You don't necessarily know. If you are allowing extensions, you don't necessarily know what everyone has installed. So this looks super useful. I haven't played around with it yet, but knowing his work, this is a pretty great module. Some news from Microsoft for those of you that manage macOS platform SSO, which has been a fantastic change for macOS management, allows for single sign-on in applications and browsers in macOS. Obviously, this is sort of built into Windows, so when Microsoft released it as a preview last year, everyone was very, very excited. It went GA earlier this week, though. So I know for a lot of organizations, public preview isn't quite enough to implement it into production. So for those of you that have been waiting for GA, here it is. Very, very great news. Another message I don't like to deliver, but it seems like we have to every now and then. Nathan McNulty pointed out that if you are using a specific part of the latest Microsoft.Graph PowerShell module, it turns out there is a bug in the latest 2.28 version. So the only fix is to actually roll back to the previous version. Wanted to call that out because we were excited we hadn't seen any bugs for a little while, but looks like one crept into this latest one. So FYI on that. And then last but not least, I thought this one was worthy of a discussion. So Aria over at Microsoft kind of put a poll out on Twitter here asking for security updates in the out-of-box experience. Would you prefer for it to be enabled or disabled by default? So the two choices were, I want to have to opt in my organization to update during out-of-box experience, or opt out. So that would mean, opt out would mean by default, you are updating during OOBE. So here are the results of that poll. 57.9% wanted to opt in, but 42% wanted it by default. The reason that I thought this was a good topic to bring up today was because there was quite a bit of conversation in the replies, and I thought a couple of the replies that I wanted to point out here, one in particular really resonated with me. Bryan Dam mentioned, I voted opt-in even though I agree with Adam Julick's response, which happened to say the orgs that would benefit the most from this are the ones that would have no idea how to opt in. Enabled by default gets my vote. So I agree with that. So Bryan also said, mostly on principle, large orgs do not like having changes thrust upon them. In theory, everyone would know the change was coming and do that thing, but that's never really how it works, is it? And I'm just repeating what they said because I agreed entirely with that rationale. I would rather opt in. Getting things done by surprise is never great. And though it might not be by surprise because Microsoft gives a lot of lead time in these announcements and things like that, I think we saw the last time it was enabled by default, everyone went, whoa, what is this? So I wanted to call this out. And Johan, I wanted to ask your opinion on this subject as well.
I agree practically with both of those comments there, but I remember when this was shipped the first time, it was a sort of a test I think it was last October, where it was released with no control plane at all. So that was of course bad. But again, this is typically new devices we are talking about, either that you deploy yourself, or typically this is together with autopilot or similar enrollment processes. And so what if it reboots one more time and take a little bit of extra time, and I have a device that is actually secure by default when it comes up, rather than having to make a decision on making that happen. And I can also see that when you order devices from vendors where you may not have that level of control yourself, so you can easily control that. But I don't like changes either. Unannounced one especially, but this one was announced, so I think I'm gonna go with the organizations that needs it and don't necessarily have that team around them. I do see a benefit of being opted in by default to get that patch installed to be secured by default.
Makes sense.
I take on it.
I think we can all agree it's a good change regardless.
Yeah.
Whether it's opt in or opt out, even having the ability to do it is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Yeah. Awesome. That was what I had on my list for today.
Yeah. On speaking of update note, I did see a conversation. See if I can bring it up. I just stumbled across it just a little while ago here. It was again Bryan Dam. He is pretty much everywhere, but he was following up on a couple of issues on Patch Tuesday. See if I can find them. It apparently been Patch Tuesday. I kind of missed that whole thing. Apparently that was yesterday. But let me send that link to myself, and I will bring it up to the screen because I had it right there on my phone. Let's see if I can multitask somewhat. It's a little bit too much to ask for, but it is Wednesday, so half week is over.
Yay.
Yeah. Here we go. All right. Let me see if I can bring it over to a screen near you. And then actually share that screen. That would be the second challenge.
One that you're happily accepting.
I've been doing training all day. I have millions of windows opened, as in probably 10, but still. All right. How about this one?
That looks like your screen.
Yeah, it looks like the screen. So apparently there are some issues. There were multiple threads going on, Reddit and others, that the Aug CU apparently is not entirely happy in all scenarios. And I did see a reply from Gabe Frost, Byte Nerd is his alias there. That is something they're looking into, and he works for Microsoft, so he's part of those discussions. So we'll see. I don't have any more updates than that, but I just wanted to share this one